It's Hyundai. How do you say it? Hyundai? It's Hyundai or whatever. It's Hyundai, actually, how it's said. Hyundai. Yes, it's not Hyundai. It's Hyundai. What is the proper way to say Hyundai? Is it pronounced Hyundai or Hyundai in most of the world? The commonly accepted pronunciation of Hyundai in the US rhymes with Sunday. Hyundai. Sunday. That's how you say it. You'll notice how it says in the UK, it's often pronounced Hyundai. And in Korea, the pronunciation is closer to Hyundai. See, I'm just saying UK, Hyundai.
Sorry, I just filmed all that. So.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. All right. What is up, internet world, and welcome back to Accelerate. I'm Mike. He's Ian. That was really fast. I'm Mike. He's Ian. Because my brain is like Hyundai. What is up, internet world, and welcome back to Accelerate. I'm Mike. He's Ian, and today we bring you the 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe. Seriously speaking, what in the Range Rover is this? This is pretty much unrecognizable. And the fact that you don't have to spend luxury dollars to get this luxury look, and wait till you see the inside, it is quality when it comes to materials. They even have a UV sterilization section, which is super odd considering it's a Hyundai, and I would just never expect that out of it. And you wanna know what color this is? It's called earthy brass. You know brass, that like golden looking metal that you have to clean it with that smelly little thing you dip called, we can't say other people's sponsors because we're sponsored by these guys. Vredestein Tires. Totally botched how you said it. It's called Vredestein Tires. Vredestein Tires. So if you're wondering how we film these really cool rollers in our videos, it's done with this contraption as well as this contraption and our camera car driver, Scotty, who also happens to be Ian's dad. This is our Ford Focus camera car, and the tires have been feeling a little bit bald lately. So we've upgraded to these Vredestein ultra high performance all seasons called Hypertrack.
So if you're from North America, you've probably never heard of Vredestein Tires before. They actually just recently started selling over here in North America, but they've been making tires for over 100 years in Europe. So not only did we put Vredestein tires on our camera car, but also on my Mazda 3 Turbo. And I have to say, there's been a big improvement in terms of handling compared to the stock tires that my car came with. These are ultra high performance all season tires developed for drivers who want high speed capability with predictable handling in dry and wet conditions combined.
Our camera car and Ian's Mazda had these ultra high performance Hypertracks supplied and installed at Canadian Tire. All right, internet world, I'm in the 2024 4 Santa Fe. You get two different engines in the Santa Fe. The first one is a 1.6 liter hybrid four-banger that makes a whopping 231 horsepower and 271 pound-feet of torque. But not this one. This one is the ultimate Calligraphy, and this one has a 2.5 liter turbocharged motor, no hybrid. It makes a whopping 277 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. So I'm gonna put this in sport mode by pushing this button up, nicey nice, put on the ground, a little bit of boost, and go. A little bit slow off the line, buddy. Okay. Okay, what do we got? 7.09. This is pretty slow. Okay, we gotta pump this up. Santa Fe. I feel like you got more in you. That launch was like weak. We gotta do something more. So what are we doing? Okay, I need something more. Give me something more. Come on, you're in sport mode, right? Okay, all right, sport mode. Okay, what do we got? Sport mode. Okay, give a little bit of power. So quiet. Just that launch is slow. Like it's slow. Yeah, slower. 7.08, so basically 7 seconds flat. But I feel like there's more. I don't know why this launch is so like weak sauce, which means the Sorento is faster. But anyways, people are not buying this because of speed. They're buying it because of this look. To the front of the Hyundai Santa Fe. Yes, you'd notice there's a lot of H's. It's a common theme in every other YouTube video, including ours. Lots of H's on the headlights. Right there, right down the center section of that light, more H's, and then from H to H, there's apparently about 75 H's in this car, which is pretty cool. But look at the front end, nice and sleek, very EV9-ish if I'm being honest. It's kind of electrification at its finest, but there's no electrification in this guy. I absolutely love this color, and I love that they put a black Hyundai badge up here, nice and clean. But look at this, you've got polished piano black at the top, you've got this bar right in the center, and then moving down from there you have a camera, and then these vents that open up just like the Ioniq 6. Moving down from there you have the radar, and then you have this unique front lower valence. Look at this design, pretty cool. I haven't seen this before. It even makes a noise, like a piano. This is where a Defender and a Ford Flex come together, have a baby, and create this, the Santa Fe, that has reliability. So it didn't take its parents' traits, it just kept strong to its name, being a Hyundai. It has 7-inch ground clearance, it does have 21s in the front, it does have an inner fender liner in the front and back that are carpeted for that luxurious experience. It does have, again, the coolest matte paint ever. I like how they have the black as these fender flares, I guess you could call it. Nice piano black. Don't worry, there is an off-road version that gives you 8.3 inches of ground clearance. It's called an XRT. So that's why they can put these shiny ones on this Calligraphy, which is the top dog in the Santa Fe lineup. You have 360 camera in this mirror, and then over here is where you see the change, the complete design change. Right here is very Land Rover-ish, nice and high, and a bit of Ford Flexi just because it's straight and the way these roof rails look. Now, if you're wondering how to get up top, it's done by this. You have a little grab rail here they've embedded into the side of this C-pillar. You put your hand here, and boom, you can get up. And now when I'm up here, I can tell you it has a sunroof in the front and a larger, I wouldn't say a panoramic, but a larger glass panel here and a smaller one in the front. And just like the Defender that has this little attachment here, you see this piece here? This is all cut off, which means you have a pretty bad or nasty blind spot when you're driving the vehicle, just like the Defender. To the most controversial part, but my favorite part, the back end and quarter of this Hyundai Santa Fe. It is amazing. It's like 2030. I feel like that's how cars are gonna look like or should look like this. Very retro, just like the Ioniq 5. When that came out, I was like, this is so cool by Hyundai. So thumbs up to the design department because they're making me happy. So let's talk about the top and work our way down. So at the top here, you do have a third brake light. You do have a wiper hiding underneath, and you'll see how wide this glass is because this is 5 inches wider than the older Santa Fe in terms of width of this tailgate. Then you have the Hyundai badge to match the front, and then SANTACLAUS. Then from there you have more H's, and then a little camera hiding very clean in this rear piano black panel. And if you're wondering how to open up the tailgate, well, the handle is right there, even though the tailgate wraps around and actually finishes down here. Kind of tricked me the first time I actually hit the button. Anyways, down from there, you will see that these lights are designed to activate when you have the tailgate up. And then down from there, you have more of that design like you have in the front that makes that noise. And then here is where your reverse lights are. And then you have these. But if you're wondering what this thing tows, if you get this version, you can tow 3,500 pounds. And if you get the XRT version, you can tow 4,500 pounds. Front seat of the Hyundai Santa Fe. Holy moly, Batman, this is nothing like the old one. This is super cool, super modern, and definitely from the future. You've got two 12.3-inch curved screens. You have a fingerprint sensor. You have the ambient lighting that is designed in such a way that it gives you the H. So you have two memory seats. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 windows that are fully automatic, up and down. Ooh, look at this design of this window. Is it dual pane? Kind of. It's like almost dual pane, very skinny dual pane. You've got this cool little trim that's wide, very like off-roady. And then you look here and you're like, wow, this is like ultra nice. The materials are excellent. So let's focus on the steering wheel. Besides the fact there's some serious plagiarism going on in terms of design, I do appreciate how the buttons are laid out. It's really clean, and this is my favorite setup in vehicles on how it's designed. So on the left-hand side, you have all your cruise control buttons, keeping your lane, the stop and go portion of, the adaptive cruise control. And the right-hand side, you have your modes and all your volume controls, including your telephone. So I like that. I like the telephone stuff and the volume on the right, and I like the cruise control on the left. Not all vehicles do this. They have different buttons, and they're kind of scattered. This is very clean and ergonomic. In the center, I appreciate the fact that there's no H, and this is in Morse code. I would say Braille, but Ian told me it's Morse code. So you've got this cool heads-up display that is perfectly positioned no matter how I sit. Thumbs up Hyundai. And then you have this shifter here. So this shifter is not new to the Santa Fe. It's on a few other Hyundai models. You have drive, reverse, neutral, and of course park. There is no sport button. That is done right here with your drive and terrain modes right in the center display console here. So if we talk about the top, I have two vents that are very car-like that goes nice and skinny. I do have a glove box. When I hit this button, it opens up this little tiny space, and that is where the UVC light is. And to activate it, you press this button. And when you press the button, basically when you put your cell phone in there, it kills all the bacteria. Good to know. Moving down from there, you have another sort of area that you can put some more phones and more storage. Very thin, but it has a grippy material on the bottom, so it kind of holds all together. Now, center console. There is touch pieces to this, and there are hard buttons to this. So on the left, you do have your volume control. On the far right, you have your tuning knob. So that is perfect. You have in the middle your hazard lights, and of course your home map search, track forward, that kind of stuff. Pretty typical stuff, but I'm glad that it's not all touch. They're physical buttons. However, the touch buttons are all the HVAC controls. So you have your rotary knobs left and right for your dual zone climate control in the front, and then you have your heated steering wheel and your heated seats and ventilated seat buttons all touch. It's not hard buttons. But the center console is my favorite part because I love the fact that they give you two wireless chargers, and those wireless chargers have this grippy material, and it holds your cell phone so it doesn't fly around when you're whipping around corners in your Hyundai Santa Fe. You do have two USB-Cs, and again the button for your UVC. Down from there you have two very deep cup holders that can really actually hold two Stanley mugs, and then up here you do have a storage compartment that is decent sized. Now, the cool part about it is that you can open up this armrest both ways, from the back and the front. Love it. Last but not least, you do have a rear view mirror camera, and that camera is hiding right next to the third brake light in the back. And one final thing about these seats, they have the H's in them, just like everywhere else in the car, but it does have a leg rest, a full out leg rest. Yep, the driver's seat. You can recline this thing, you can lift up this leg rest and fall asleep. And if you're wondering if the passenger side has it, the answer is no. I paid for this car, and I'm the only one that deserves it. So an important piece of this channel is showing you actual usability of the vehicles that we review. So here is the actual dimensions you'll get when you buy a Santa Fe and you have the third row up. So you have 15 inches from here to here. On the side is obviously a little bit tighter, just the way the vehicle rounds off. You have about 11.75 inches, almost a foot. Now, I didn't tell you guys this before, but there's more H's here. Look right here. This is an H design, just like the headlights and taillights. And then when you want to close the trunk, you have two buttons. You have one to simply just close the tailgate, and one when you hit, you walk away from the vehicle and the whole thing actually locks up. Now, when I pull this up, you do have some storage. You do have obviously something to fill up the tire in case you get a flat. And then over here, you do have some storage. Now, when I do say Hyundai Kia, people get mad and say, well, no, they're not the same. They're different companies. But if they are, then why do they have this? Haha. So all my comments, all the guys in the comments that's about to choke me for that, what does this say? It doesn't say Mercedes-Benz and BMW. Now, the way to fold these seats down is pretty much the exact same way as a Volkswagen Atlas. You basically pull this, it folds down, and you push it in. Pretty straightforward stuff. You pull it, you push it. It does have increments, which is amazing. It folds down, boom, nice and flat. So let me show you how much room it has until the top right there. You have just about 41 inches in terms of length, and in terms of width, because this is a really wide gate, you have 51 inches. That is amazing. That is definitely plywood worthy or drywall worthy, depending on what type of trade or construction you're in. But how about between the wheel wells? 42 inches. So you'd have to actually raise it up and put your drywall up here. So you'd have to build or maybe put two cinder blocks and then boom, your drywall on top. Now, there's something interesting about this vehicle. We'll talk about it inside, but I want to tell you about it right here, right now, because we're looking at it. You do have vents on both sides, but your only HVAC controls in the rear second row or third row is actually in the third row. You can't adjust the HVAC in the second row. It's done in the third row, and it's done right there. Let me show you how to get in the third row. I push this button down, the seat slides forward. This is the space I have. Put my foot here, and then I have to lean in and then jump into the back. So here we go, me sitting in the back seat. Put this down, jump in. How much room do I have? A ton of headroom. Wow, this is crazy. Look at this suede in this headliner. There's so much suede here. Now I'll show you seating position in a minute. However, I want to show you some convenience. You do have a vent back here so the kids don't feel claustrophobic. You get one on each side. On that side, again, like I talked about in the trunk, you do have your fan controls. You do have a USB-C per side. And you do have a 3-prong plug on this right-hand side and 2 cup holders. Now, when I'm back here, I do have map lights and a very large glass roof. So I'm not going to feel claustrophobic back here because I also have this big window to my left. So third row is a win in terms of like overall comfort. Let's see how this seat looks. So I'll hit this button and then it's going to come back. The seat is powered on the back portion, but not powered on the bottom. However, when you hit the button, it appears like the bottom is sort of powered. So when I hit it, see, it releases the lock from the bottom, and then this is powered. But the tricky part is now for it to come back, I hit it, right? So the third row guy, I guess in theory, nobody's sitting in the back here by themselves. Like obviously somebody's sitting there and they'll do this. But when this happens, this seat cannot come back to me. There's no way for me to move this seat back. Impossible. The only thing I can do is just get it to this position. So I have a ton of leg room. So I guess in theory this makes sense. If nobody's sitting there, well, there's no reason to put the seat back and crush me. And if somebody is sitting there, well, they'll move the seat back in order to crush me. So I guess it makes sense. My first complaint was like, how am I going to move this back? But then when you think about how in reality it's going to work, it's done right. Now this is with it all the way back. This is as much legroom as I get. Again, 5'9", and this is maxed out in terms of it coming back. And yeah, this is a good seat. I couldn't sit in it for, 12 hours, but I can sit in it for 2 for sure. An hour and a half, maybe an hour and 50 minutes, maybe an hour. But nonetheless, it's still good enough. And I think the saving grace for me is the fact that I can see right in the front seat. I have a ton of headroom and a lot of visibility to my left and right, and I have a vent, and I have a plug that I can plug in my cell phone. Now in the second row, let's talk about the door panel for a minute. You do have a space for a bottle right there, 2 cups here. Of course, you do have 3 increments of heated seats for this captain's chairs, and you do have little sunshades. Now let me jump into this, but I want to show you something beforehand. So when I get out of this, let's say, I basically have to pull this and it goes in this position. So remember we talked about the first position to get into the back. All right, stop for a second. Now I hit it, it goes back. Come on, there we go. Now it stops right here, and then I can slide this back without actually me pulling the lever. So that's the first position, and then I have the handle that can slide all the way back. So let me jump in now and show you. Jump in, close the door, and then I have power. So the power can recline this. The power can lift this part up so I can get a little bit more leg or thigh support. And then I do have the armrest here that pulls down, that gives me a little bit extra cushion for my elbow that wasn't there. On this right-hand side, I do have a pretty good amount of padding on the door panel, and then I have this massive glass panel above me. Lots of suede, I love. You have a map light, a handlebar to hold me in. I do have more H's. I do have these little bag hangers, and then on both sides, I have a really good quality sort of pocket where I can put an iPad or something. Now I do have this storage down here, so I can pull this back. Come on, where are you? Oh, there we go. By pulling the wrong thing here. There we go. I do have some storage there. Now, just like I talked about in the front seat, I do have access to the center console storage. Cool. And then I do have plugs, 1 and 2 USB-C. And there are vents, 1 on each side, but there is no climate control like we talked about. And that probably makes sense because, well, the third row has it, and the third row is the most important now in 2024. Cool ride, bro. Wow, it's strong, actually. So if you're new to our channel, you will not know that I am absolutely in love with the way Kia and Hyundai does lane keep. So simply press 3 buttons, the steering wheel button, the distance button, and then the cruise control button, and then boom, I just do absolutely nothing and it turns for you. And every now and then I got to do one of these, making sure its heart rate is good, and that's it. That's why I love it. And look how I stay in the lane. It's perfect. Are you watching? Are you watching? Listen, it's not going to be Tesla's system. I get it. But only when you spend money with the Tesla, it does a good job. For me, in my Plaid, it sucks. I got to hold the steering wheel every now and then. So like this one says, keep your hands on the steering wheel. I just did it. Boom. Back to normal. So every time it tells me, and it doesn't do what Tesla does, which is basically like shuts you out completely. So if Tesla, you take your hand off and it catches you 3 times, it'll be disengaged the whole time you're driving the car. So if you've got a long ride ahead of you, you got to stop the car, you got to get out, you got to unlock it, get back in until it resets. This thing, it just gets mad at you, but you just do that and then off you go. So the question everybody wants to know is, how does this drive? Well, for starters, it's very quiet in the cabin. Besides looking at all this tech and the design and the quality and the fit and finish, which is very good, I talk about it in the studio, but the overall like quality of this is good. When the tires hit the bumps, in which you can hear, it's good, it's solid. Is it super sporty? Not really. It's really designed to be a little bit more plush, a little bit more luxurious, so there's a little bit of body roll. When I was on the highway, it was very windy yesterday, bringing it to the city that I live in, which is about 2 hours away from Toronto, which is the drive we have to make every week to bring the cars from Toronto to our town. I was getting pushed around by the wind. However, with the keep you in the lane system, it was holding me through and it didn't really feel like I was getting pushed around. But when I was holding the steering wheel, it definitely felt like I was getting pushed around, just because it's a box and the suspension is a little bit lofty. It's designed, again, to be softer. So that's the first thing. The second thing, it's quiet in here. It's very quiet in here, and I wasn't really expecting that. I mean, you can hear a little bit of noise when you pin it. The engine obviously tries hard. The other interesting part is that everywhere I looked for the 0 to 60 times on this car, it all showed up at like 6.3, 6.4, which is kind of the numbers we got on the Sorento. However, I can't get better than 7, which is really weird. I tried every button in this, it just couldn't get better. So that's interesting. However, everything else is amazing. The design, super cool. The color, super cool. I mean, obviously sometimes that back corner is a little bit questionable because it looks retro and that might not be your style, so you might hate it. Remember, this is kind of a love it or hate it look. Some people want rounded SUVs like the Cayenne or the Macan, very, very rounded. This is very boxed in and squared off. So this is more of a G-Wagon, more of the Defender, Discovery, that kind of stuff. Not Discovery, but Defender stuff. So different looks, right? So obviously different strokes for different folks. Perfect. The tech is amazing. Again, a ton of space. Now I know we're going to complain about the third row would like a little bit extra space, but again, this is not the biggest thing. There is the Palisade that is larger. This is just a whole different world when it comes to the last Santa Fe. So if you tell somebody today, you walked into a buddy's house and you're like, hey, I bought the new Santa Fe, they're going to be like, what? The Santa Fe? But they're not going to think that it's this. So this still needs some time to get out there, get marketed, so people know that this is the new Santa Fe. It's a completely different car than the old one, or SUV than the old one. So it's going to be really interesting, and I expect Hyundai to sell a ton of these things just because it's just so refreshing, new. So this is brand new, getting a ton of attention when I drive by people. They're like, what is that? It looks cool because it's a full matte finish, and that is amazing. Now this is the most expensive Santa Fe you can buy, and it still costs like half the price of something that looks very similar to this, but just a different brand. One of the things I do really like about the Santa Fe is the driving position. I can sort of lie down essentially and drive this and still have really good visibility. I'm still in the center of this windscreen. Like my eyes are dead center from the top to the bottom. I'm right in the middle. This heads-up display is perfectly right in my face, but it's not overbearing. Look at my elbows. My elbow's right here on this armrest, just perfectly. It doesn't slide backwards or forwards, but it's like right here, it's good. And then my other elbow is right here. So, and I'm definitely not a tall person. So I guess the question is, if you are like 6'5", 6'6", your elbow is definitely not fitting on this door. And this one, yep, you go all the way back, this is all good. But for me, at 5'9", this is a perfect seating position. It is great. I don't have to sit 90 degrees. Sometimes SUVs, you're sitting up too upright, but this one allows you to sort of lean back and relax with these seats. So that is definitely a thumbs up for me. The other thing is, look at this headroom. I have a ton of headroom. There's so much headroom that my hand disappears from the screen. You can't even see it. That's how high this head is. And of course, this nice suede is an added touch when it comes to luxury. So I did hear some rumblings about the engine being loud, and that is because the cabin is very quiet. So you're gonna hear the normal 4-cylinder whine when you're on the throttle, and everybody in the car is gonna know that you're accelerating pretty aggressively. So it's not like a, let's call it a BMW X7 with a 3-liter in it that's quiet under load. It's pretty quiet. Like at 4,000 RPM, you can barely hear the engine in the X7, but those are totally different price points. So it really depends on what you're used to driving and then getting into this. This is still a four banger, and all four bangers are going to be loud for the most part. Remember, the cost of this vehicle. Ian, put the price down here in case they forgot. Hope you guys like this review on this 2024 Hyundai Santa Fe Ultimate Calligraphy. We'll catch you on the next one.